Bloodthirsty enemies of the state have kidnapped the president's daughter. With more enemies than friends in the White House and abroad, the commander-in-chief is unsure whom he can trust and if he'll ever bring his baby girl home safely. The book, The President's Daughter by Bill Clinton and James Patterson. And you're listening to Lit Society. Let's get lit! Hey y'all, hey, this is Kari.
And this is Alexis.
And you're listening to
Portugal.
Lit Society. Oh, go ahead, tell your business. Oh, Alexis, y'all know this is a special alert. Forget the president's daughter. Alexis, what did you say?
I'm chiming in from Portugal, y'all. Portugal.
That's right. Alexis has absconded again from the US of A and is living in Portugal right now. We are all very jealous. Okay. And I'm surprised you told us your business. So thank you.
I put it on the social
usually,
media.
Listeners, as you know, we start with the theme of the week, but we didn't have it in us this week. You know, we bi-coastal. Oh, we not bi-coastal. We international. And you know, time zones be what they are. It's like very early in the morning, nearly for Alexis, and in the evening for me. So, let's go ahead and dive into Society Says this week. Society Says is the portion of the show where we share your thoughts, listeners, with the rest of the Lit Society. I love this. Alexis, please, what comment did you see on Instagram, YouTube, wherever that you'd like to share with us this week?
Okay. I have a comment. This is from, it looks like Maisie727, and it's titled Renewed Excitement. It says, I've been an avid reader since I was a child. I used to walk down the hallways of my high school with my nose in a book. But as an adult, I've had less time to quote unquote read. And when I do, it's usually me listening to a random audiobook. You ladies have renewed my love for literature, and I am so grateful. I love your take on the books, and you keep me laughing. Keep up the excellent work.
Yay!
Thank you, Maze727. Yeah, that's what we aspire to do. Good. Yeah, encourage reading as much as possible. Kari, do you have a comment that was lit that you want to share with us?
I do. So this came from, I believe, Instagram, and it's from Araya Bell. And they say, I just found you too, and I just wanted to thank you for such a great podcast. I was searching for 1984 podcasts and went down the list listening to each one. You two by far had the best summaries and ideas, even better summaries and understanding of what was being written than the editors and publishers for Penguin.
Come on, let's do this.
I like that because they did not accept me for a position when I had applied within the publishing company.
That's what they get. That's what they get.
Penguin. So thank you so much. Listeners, if you want to have your comment shared on the show, please message us. You can email us. Some people write us letters. You can Instagram, DM us, send us a message on Instagram. You can go to Facebook. I don't know who's going to check it. I don't even know how to log into Facebook, but we'll figure it out for you.
Yeah.
So you want to take a quick break, Alexis, before we dive into this week's very interesting read?
Yep.
All right, let's do it. And we're back. Alexis, what can you tell us about this unknown author? Both of these authors, unknown, underground.
Okay.
Who they is, and why did they write the book? Now, the second question, I really do want to know.
Okay. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with James Patterson. He was born in 1947 in New York State. He has a BA in English from Manhattan College and an MA in English from Vanderbilt University. In 1976, he published his first novel, The Thomas Berryman Number. After he retired from advertising in 1996, he devoted his time to writing. One of his successful ad campaigns was the I Don't Want to Grow Up, I'm a Toys R Us Kid ad. Do you remember that?
He's good. He been good.
Okay. The novels that he writes feature, or his most popular novels that were in the 2010s, featured the character Alex Cross. And it's his most popular, and it's a top-selling U.S. detective series. He also has...
that's The Hunt for Red October, right? Or no, that's Jack Ryan.
Yeah, that's different.
Who is Alex Cross?
You know Alex Cross. Tyler Perry actually played Alex Cross, and so has the guy. He's always old. Everybody says
he was born old. That's Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman. They both played Alex Cross.
I knew it because he was born. He got the Benjamin Buttons.
Well, anyway, those are his most popular. They were his most popular books in the 2010s. He also has a book collection for children, teens, and young adults. Patterson had
many of his books have been turned into films, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you going to go into that?
I am not.
Oh, can you name any of them though?
Yeah. Along Came a Spider. I think that was the first one, and I think that's the one Morgan Freeman did. Let's see.
Okay.
So
I confused him with another author, but that's okay.
Okay. So, but do you know who I'm talking about now?
Yeah. I just looked up a few, and I don't know these movies.
Oh, at all? Really? Mm-mm. You never saw any of them?
No. Sundays at Tiffany's, Alex Cross, like you said. Maximum Ride? No.
Is he in that one though? So the most the ones I know is Kiss the Girls and Along Came a Spider. Those are the ones I know.
All right. I'll trust you.
Okay.
So apparently this is somebody. Go ahead.
Anyway.
Sorry to interrupt.
At least a few of his books have been made into movies, okay? He has written more than 200 novels since 1976, and he has made more than 114 New York Times best-selling novels, and he holds the New York Times record for the most #1 New York Times bestsellers by a single author. And I think to date it's 73, which is also a Guinness World Record.
Wow.
Patterson.
I think I'm confusing him with John Grisham.
Oh, yeah, you are.
In my mind, in my heart, I know that's what I'm doing.
Yep, that's what it is. And that's okay. That's okay.
We'll read his books too one day, but that's another show.
One day. Patterson has worked with several co-authors, and in May of 2017, it was announced that Patterson would also co-author a crime fiction book with, guess who? None other than the former President Clinton. The book, The President is Missing, will provide a level of detail that only a former U.S. president can offer. Patterson has often said that collaborating with authors brings new and interesting ideas to his stories. Of his process, he has said that he is simply more proficient at dreaming up plots than crafting sentence after sentence. Pay attention to that.
He's a big picture guy, not a details guy, perhaps. I can understand that.
Patterson has donated millions. He founded an organization that supports and encourages literacy. And he supports other initiatives that do the same thing, encourage reading and enhance literacy. He has received an Edgar Award, 9 Emmy Awards, the Literarian Award from the National Book Foundation, and the National Humanities Medal. Listen, Patterson has had share of drama. Let me name a little bit of it, okay?
Oh, yes. Interesting. Let me get my glass.
He and Stephen King have been in a bit of a drama. Stephen King takes shots, and Patterson says he heaps praise on King. So they got a little thing going on that Patterson seems to ignore by heaping praise instead of digging into the low blows that Stephen King throws.
Ooh. When Stephen goes low, Patterson goes to Bill Clinton.
Okay. In June 2022, he said in an interview that older white males find it difficult to find work in film, theater, television, and publishing, and that the problem is just another form of racism. There you go. But of course,
why you got us reading this? That's fine.
He was proved wrong and later apologized. He doesn't believe there is that kind of racism.
No, what he doesn't believe is that his views should hamper his book sales.
Patterson has been criticized, but he's making his money off of an African-American character. All the dollars and the cents.
Oh, Alex Cross?
Yes.
Have you ever read a book featuring Alex Cross?
I've tried.
Because I wonder in that book, every time Alex Cross enters the room, do they go, Alex Cross, a black man, enters the room?
No. Actually, no, they don't. Mm-mm.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, the third one is that he's been criticized for co-authoring many of his books and for being more of a brand than focusing on that focuses on making money than an artist who focuses on his craft.
Well, listen, that's the American way. And when it comes to a celebrity writing with a published author, no one is doubting that the author is doing a lot of the heavy lifting in that scenario. Sorry, my cat's sneezing. So I definitely consider it collaborative.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think?
Well, then the comment that he makes that he's not into sentence for sentence writing. So
but big plot ideas.
He can give the idea. Totally.
Yeah.
The idea I don't disbelieve is his, and then people just help contribute to that, and he flushes it out because it's his idea and he knows how he wants to see it. Anyway, Patterson has a wife and son, and they live in Florida. His books have sold more than 425 million copies, and he was the first person to sell 1 million ebooks.
Wow.
Let's talk about President Clinton, former U.S. President Bill Clinton. Clinton was born in 1946 in Hope, Arkansas. He graduated from Georgetown University and Yale Law School. He won the Rhodes Scholarship, which is a postgraduate award to study at Oxford in the UK. And he attended Oxford, but did not receive a degree from there. He is the 42nd U.S. president from 1993 to 2001. He received an honorary degree from Oxford when he was president, I believe. He also was Times Man of the Year twice, and he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2013. A little drama in his life.
No.
He had adulterous relationships.
Not Billy. No.
With?
Why am I only hearing about this now?
Did you just hear about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's had adulterous relationships, and he was impeached for perjury. He was also investigated for...
Impeach means, I'm sorry, just want to interject here because there's been a lot of talk about what impeach means and what happens when you are impeached. Impeach just means you can keep your job, but ain't nobody gonna like it. I've been impeached before.
Is that
and then everyone gets over it and they're like, okay, you okay. And then I get impeached again.
Is that what is going on in the States right now?
Impeach schnapps.
Okay. Anyway, he was also investigated for whitewater something, which is
yada prison time not applied.
Listen, they say he pressured someone to give an illegal loan, but he didn't get in trouble because they didn't have enough proof. But people that I think that who actually gave the loan, they gonna
get in trouble now.
They are mad.
It ain't never the outfit. It's always the accessories.
Not the accessories, girl. Also, they don't like that he made efforts to avoid the draft to the Vietnam War. They're like, he just really took some steps to avoid that, and we don't like it. Then the FBI investigated him for improper access to security clearance documents. And then finally,
that's everybody. Once you leave office, you get a care package with top secret documents. Like, these is just for you and all your friends that come over. It's just a cool party game.
That's what it seems like, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing. I didn't know
everybody get them.
I didn't know
I
he
got
had
some
that
top secret documents somewhere.
You probably do.
From the Obama.
Burn
house.
them. And finally, he had a friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. He was on his plane, and that's a big deal. Yes. Yes, that's a big deal. I remember when that was all over the news as well. And then finally,
I couldn't. I mean, the amount of people that was kicking it with Jeff.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Nasty.
And then finally, Clinton is married to Hillary Rodham, and I think she was the former Secretary of State. And they have a daughter, and the daughter has three grandchildren. So that is. Oh wait, I do have notes on the inspiration. Okay. The President's Daughter was published in June of 2021. Clinton said that some of the events are based on things he faced as president. Additionally, during his presidency, he accidentally hit the Chinese embassy because of erroneous maps. So it's true that the U.S. destroyed a building that killed civilian Chinese nationals. And also, adult children of the president do not receive security after the president leaves the White House. So those things are true.
Can I just bring this down to another level? Let's say your father used to be in a gang. And while in that gang, he was responsible for ordering crimes that resulted in the loss of life. You move away, time passes. He writes a book where he details a fictional character ordering crimes and you die in it. I mean, maybe, or your life is threatened. How would you feel? Like, how I get in it? Now, why am I in it? Daddy?
In this?
Why is called The President's Daughter? Are you giving people ideas? I don't like that. Yeah. One thing I'll say is that the president is missing. Not very loved by a lot of people. And perhaps that's because of political alignment. Some people went into reading the book or pretended to read the book with the purpose of giving it a bad review.
Oh, wait. Oh, the first book?
People don't like that book.
The first book?
Yeah, the president is missing. They was like, this book needs to be missing. However, the president's daughter, people are liking a little more.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting.
I thought the comment where they say he is really full of himself that they said about the president is missing. I thought that was funny.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Because why are we doing, if he missing, he missing. That's why you have a vice president. Not that we want anyone to be missing. I am saying a lot of things. I'm just saying what happens in that book would not be happening. I don't think. So thank you for that, Alexis. Thank you for that insight. I have a lot of feelings about the existence of this book, and for a former president to use his knowledge and experience and yes, actions that contributed to a loss of life to create something so, what is the word? Unnecessary, tangential to his life. Like, this is a fictional book.
This is a fictional book
written to make money. And there we are. All right. Well, thank you. May I ask, can you give us a brief synopsis of the book without spoilers?
Sure. As you know, I like to keep it brief. Failed attack on a terrorist leads to events that has the president fighting for his family. Kari.
Very interesting.
Who do you think would enjoy this book?
I think anyone who's interested in political drama. I never watched it, but if you were into The West Wing, maybe this is for you. That type of idea where you have to be getting a behind the scenes look, like a look behind the curtain, because this is a former president who is detailing some things. And although top secret phrases or, call outs are probably changed with each president, This is pretty interesting if you want to just kind of get a peek as to how it is on the other side over there. And Alexis, may I ask what made you choose this book?
Okay, so I was visiting a friend, and she had this book on her coffee table, like she was like just finished reading it, and so I was thinking I was trying to read a James Patterson book, so why not read this one? So I thought I'd give it a try.
Okay, well, thank you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive deep into the plot. This is going to be a part 1 and part 2. So this is part 1 of the book, and it will cover, ironically, part 1 and part 2 of the book. So the book is divided into what, 5 parts?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So we're going to talk about part 1 and part 2 in this part 1 of our show of our coverage of this book. So Alexis, please. The floor is yours.
Okay.
Tell us about The President's Daughter by James Patterson and Bill Clinton.
Okay, so I got a full, pretty good handle, I think, on part 1 and a good portion of part 2, but I'm going to need your help towards the end filling out the story. The story begins at 2 a.m. off the coast of Libya with Navy Chief Nick Zappos of the SEAL Team 6. He's in a Special Operations Black Hawk helicopter, code name Spear 1. His mission is to kill Asim al-Asad. It's been a long-range goal of American agencies, and after 4 years, they hope they'll hit the target tonight. Asim is different from other terrorists, and as he is present on video doing things, but just before the violent act, someone else steps in and assists him, and he disappears. His actions are heinous. Chief Zappos has been on 2 other missions to take Asad out, but those missions have failed. They hope this mission, again, will be successful. As they head to their mission site, Chief Zappos is told that he has a call, and it is the president. The president is expressing confidence in him that the mission will be successful, especially for the sake of Boyd Tanner. Chief Zappos is part in awe, and he's part touched that the president will call him at this time, but he's also a little peed off that he will call him during a mission. But Zappos says that politics can screw with a man's head, so he gives the president a break, knowing that he's been a Navy SEAL before, and he knew about Boyd Tanner. Now, Boyd Tanner, only a few people know how he died. His wife and children even believe he died in a training accident. In actuality, he was captured, wounded, and barely alive after a brutal fight in Afghanistan, and Asim al-Asad and his fighters stripped him, hung him, and strip him, hang him, and execute him after an hour on video. All right, so it's 2:15 a.m. at the Embassy of the People's Republic of China. Jiang Lijian is listed on embassy guest list as a vice president for the China State Construction Engineering Company. Jiang was an exchange student in UCLA and Columbia in New York, and the book describes his disgust for the people that are present at the event at the embassy that night. Never thinking he'd ever have to be in their presence, in the presence of such, he says, ignorant and uncouth people. That is the Libyan leadership.
What does he call them? Pigs or something?
Yeah. Something derogatory. So then Jiang gets summoned. Somebody calls him out and like, hey, somebody wants you. So it makes it look like he's very important. So he
likes to be under the radar.
Yeah. So he heads to the basement, where he arrives in a small room jammed with filing cabinets, counters, computer monitors, television screens showing the BBC, the CNN, and China Central News Channel, as well as a screen showing, like, I would say maps of North Africa, not necessarily map, but maybe a view, aerial view, North Africa, the Mediterranean, and the Gulf of Sidra. Other members of the Ministry of State Security are present. Jiang is told that the Americans are up to something. When he gets down there, that's what they tell him. Mm-hmm. They can see that the Americans have launched 2 Black Hawk helicopters and have violated Libyan's airspace, and they're heading toward Nafusa Mountains. They can tell that something important is going down because they appear to be flying straight and level with no evasive maneuvers, and there's barely enough fuel to get back to their meet spot. Or there's probably a ship in the middle of the ocean called the Wasp. That's what I think that is. Is that right?
No, what do you think? Is for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So
the Wasp or the bumblebee? It's called the Wasp. Because somebody's irritated. Well, the gentleman describing is mad about that name.
Yeah, he's very mad about it.
Like stupid Americans. Why would you name a sea vessel after an insect?
Yeah. Jiang is the senior officer of the Chinese Ministry of State Security for all of North Africa. His father was killed by the Americans along with 2 others while in the basement of the Chinese embassy, supposedly by mistake. Everyone knew, however, that it was an attempt by the Americans to punish the Chinese for standing with Serbia.
So if we pause here for a second, what a wild plot to write into your book as a former president who was responsible for an explosion at the Chinese embassy. That is all.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
Once I found out, I was like, why would you write about that?
Trivial. That's the word I was looking for before. This is a trivial pursuit. And you are using real life catastrophic events.
People were affected. Lives were lost.
You accept
all that. Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. When he grew older, when Jiang grew older, he learned that the bomber who killed his father was part of the famed American Air Force bomb group that dropped the atomic bomb in 1945. Jiang has vowed that his child will grow up in a peaceful and strong world with China's strength recognized. Whatever it takes, Jiang knows the area where the Americans are headed, so he picks up the phone. His undetectable satellite phone. This is his secret phone. It's a secret phone. And he makes a call.
Wait, because the gentleman that's showing him the maps and the movement of the Americans, did you mention this? He says, don't you have an interest in this area?
Yep, he said that. Mm-hmm.
And so the man keeps his face neutral and is like, alert me if anything changes.
Yep.
And then he runs into another room. Now everyone thinks he's going to rejoin the party, but no, as Alexis said, he's got a secret phone that will help him protect that interest, we are to believe, in some way by making a phone call.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we still don't know. Now, I haven't read ahead.
Oh,
I still don't know what that interest is.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, you've read part 1 and part 2, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But that's not what this is about. This is about part 1. So.
No, but I mean, in reading part 1 and part 2, do we find what the interest is?
I mean, they don't out and out say it, but I think it's clear.
Okay, that is like a secret family or something?
Oh, let's get to it. Hold on. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Don't worry about it. Okay. In any way, secret phone. Okay. He goes to call somebody. And his intention, kill America. He finally decides that is what he is destined to do since that May 1999 when he found out his father when his father died.
But that is a secret. That is a secret mission within himself that he's given himself. No one else knows.
No one else knows it.
As far as they know, he is serving the Republic.
Yes.
But he's got a secret mission that trumps everything, even the orders of his state.
Yep. Okay.
Country.
So back to the helicopter. They arrive at their location. It's Asim's home, and Al-Rashid is at home right this moment, based on all streams of intelligence. So out of the helicopter, they arrive at the house, and the house is actually empty. Asim is not there. So now let's go to the White House. At the White House, in the Situation Room, we find President Keating along with his security team, who is really his predecessor's team, because Keating got into office because his president died like a year and a half in, or maybe a year in, and he moved up to president. The predecessor died of an aortic aneurysm that ruptured while he was on a fishing trip. And Vice President Pamela Barnes, that's who she is, that's his vice president. And then also there are military representatives from the Navy and the Army. Side note, the VP is big mad that she's a VP. She's VP and not the president.
She deserves the top position, and she has a husband who is very ambitious and uses her kind of like his puppet to rise up. We are to believe, especially in the beginning, that there is love between them. Like he rubs her feet, and he's her chief advisor, the vice president.
That's what it's called. Okay.
And his advice is always leading her to take the president's position. So they're looking for holes in the administration that they can exploit.
Yep. Keating was selected over her in a political move when he became president. So when Keating says that if Barnes was happy or grateful, she has never shown it. She always looking at him in disgust, really.
Yeah, so he handpicked her. Like, look, I have a woman vice president. This is a new administration. We progressive.
Right.
And smart. And we get things done. And she like, yes, I am the vice president.
She like, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the situation. Oh, okay. Back up. So it's announced that the raid is a bust. In the Situation Room, they hear the raid is a bust. Al-Rashid was not present. So now the president, the vice president, everybody in the White House who's important knows that this mission was a bust. However, the situation evolves and the SEALs see some movement within the location that they are. And they are being, suddenly they're being engaged by Asim's people in Asim's compound. And then an explosion goes off and more shots are fired. The operation has failed. And from the Situation Room, they can see that the explosion was internal and it wasn't caused by the forces on the ground nor by anything in the air. The results: 2 dead, 3 wounded. They realized that Asim knew they were coming. How did they know? The results from the compound.
So just so y'all know, we do know how he knew, and it was because of that phone call that the Chinese what is he? Nobleman made.
Singer. He has a senior position in the state of security.
Nobleman. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, nobleman. Thank you, Alexis.
Okay. So let's say there you have it. The results from the compound: there are 7 dead, and that doesn't include Asim Al-Rashid. However, there's a woman and 3 young girls that, from sealed documentation, say that this is the wife and 3 daughters of Asim. They were killed when the bomb exploded. Listen, Keating makes a plan to make a public announcement to the television networks. You know, all the major networks are getting ready to hear about what happened, this mission. The advisors tell him, look, don't say anything like failed out there because Americans don't like that word.
And don't apologize.
And the national security advisor suggests that he wait until all the facts are in. And the president's
what do you think about this advice?
About waiting till the facts are in? That's important.
That's kind of important, Mr. President. Hey, Mr. President, sit down.
That's the
Maybe
basic.
Listen for a second.
Yep, wait till all the facts are in. You should always wait until you have all the information before acting. Anyway,
you got to tell the American public about this mission that failed that they didn't even know was happening.
Right.
And then you got to take responsibility because you're a good person.
Right.
You got to come to mama with the dish that you broke that had lives in it and let her know. She didn't even know you had that dish. Let's be reasonable.
That's right.
Nope.
That's right. So he have his advisors are giving him all kind of advice. Don't do it. Nobody's gonna like it. Not even the people in the field are gonna like you apologizing. So don't do that, especially.
It's almost a betrayal of these SEALs that risk their lives. You're gonna tell everyone they failed and that blah blah blah. Like, what are you doing and why?
It's not the thing to do. And he's gets a bit cocky and he's like, I'm a former SEAL. Don't I know more than your MIT degree? I think I do. I think I do. So that's what he says. But when he says it, he immediately regrets having said it. Nonetheless, he said it. People continue to try to encourage him, but not to apologize. He doesn't listen. But one person don't even speak up. They just staring at him like he's stupid. Who is that? The VP.
That's the vice president.
So by the time he goes on to the networks to make the announcement, the VP is in her bed with her bottle of whiskey,
her husband.
her glass of whiskey, her tumbler of whiskey with her husband rubbing her feet. Oh, they just in a bed.
Hold on one second, because she has seen what alcoholism has done to men who had promising futures. So she only allows herself one glass of whiskey every single night.
Why you saying
I
like
just thought that was funny.
Why though? Why is that funny?
Hey, I'm not accusing nobody of nothing, but if you drinking hard liquor every day, I don't know if that's part of your nightly routine. Am I being judgy? Sorry.
Okay. I mean, it's one
I know
glass.
they live in Portugal, but over here we call that an addiction.
Wow. I mean, that's really extra.
No, I'm sorry. I don't know anything.
Anybody? That was weird.
You see this man look, Alexis. She is over there drinking cava. Oh, that's Spain. She is over there drinking port every night, and she don't want to hear nothing about it. Okay, I got the message. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. All right. So
every single night she's sucking on a whiskey bottle, talking about I'm better than all them alcoholics I do.
Better than. So her husband is there and they're watching the president talk about his faults. Well, they're talking about his faults and they're also listening to his TV announcement, and he's offering aid to the family of those accidentally killed tonight. And they like, that is the craziest thing. You might as well just hand him that money, because what is you doing? You know who they are.
He's offering money to the victims, but those victims the families of those victims are the families of the terrorists that you were trying to catch.
Yeah.
So now you're telling everybody that you're giving terrorists money.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look. Okay. It's not a good look. So VP, President Barnes and VP Pamela Barnes and her husband, Richard, as Kari said, is her first-hand advisor. What did you call him?
Yeah. Her chief advisor.
Chief advisor, yeah.
She has a mind of her own, but she follows the advice of her husband, and it has worked out for her so far.
Yep.
Like, he doesn't have the smooth edges that she has. So he kind of uses her to be in the place that he wants to be.
Yeah.
Whisper in her ear.
Yeah. So Richard is like, I see this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for you to get support and submit your bid for presidency when he tries for re-election. Meanwhile, Ji Young is watching as the president apologizes. He is disgusted, okay, that a leader would do such a thing. He sees Keating as humble yet arrogant, and they see an apology as leading to Keating's defeat in 2 years. Okay. So now it's 8 a.m. and we're in the Nafusa mountain in Libya. Okay. Asim al-Rashid is sitting in a remote cave. He has his backpack, rucksack. I think that's what that is. He has a loaded AK-47 rifle and a pistol. I don't remember the description for that, but he has it with him. And a few meters behind him is the man who brought him the news of his family's death. That man is dead. He killed him because he could not answer all his questions. And as he sits, he sees a male and female walking toward the cave entrance, and both of them have blonde hair. And as they get closer, we find out it's his cousin Faraj and the woman he used to serve as a distraction from himself. So no one would because he knew that no one would question two blondes hiking up a mountain.
Yeah, so this is a student that was in the area that he has. It kind of sounds like seduced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're calling her a whore.
Yeah.
And contemplating whether or not to kill her.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's dyed his hair blonde.
Yeah, and Faraj,
he hates.
Yeah, he hates because when he gets in the cave, he's like, "When can I dye my hair back?" And Asim is like, "When I tell you, you can." Anyway, you're doing good work here. Good work. I love it. I love how you use
like,
the woman.
Hey, our friend back here dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hasim is the terrorist. Yeah. Hasim was like, "Yeah, I didn't like the message he gave me about my wife and kids. And I got mad while he was giving it to me. And he had no more answers, so I had to kill him."
The man got mad. The man got mad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the man got mad.
And then it's his nephew, right? His nephew was like, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah. But he got mad at him for asking questions about the situation.
That's what he says.
Yeah, that's what he says. But this is a situation he is fully aware of. I get that at this point. He just shot him because he was mad.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Or slit his throat.
Right. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
He slit his throat. Faraj gives Asim an update, and Asim asks if Keating has a daughter. And Faraj confirms. And Asim tells him that he's going to think about what he wants to do. And Faraj asks if he should kill the woman that he's with because he's done with her. And Asim tells him not now. He tells him not now, saying that she should pray to her God that her life was saved today. Keating lost the bid for presidency. Does that surprise you, Kari?
No, he's not a good president. So he lost it to his vice president. Yes. He doesn't play the game well. He doesn't listen to his advisors. He's all heart and no intellect. He's not a cerebral president. And
they don't
his
like
vice president is definitely a thinker.
Mm-hmm.
And she's married to a thinker. And they thought him up out the White House.
That's what they did. Mm-hmm. Yes. So they used that failed Libyan mission operation as an opportunity. Kidding his wife, the snooty professor and archaeologist, and his daughter leave the Oval Office. His wife has been offered a job as a full professor at Boston University. She'll have an opportunity to go off to a dig site.
She's a doctor. She's not a medical doctor, which I know some people, if you're not a medical doctor, they don't recognize your doctoring.
That's silly. Stop it.
But she is a doctor. What'd you say?
I said it's silly for people not to recognize people.
Oh, no, it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's funny, though.
That's work. Keating.
It's only one doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Keating is heading to a remote lakeside New Hampshire home. His daughter Mel will be finishing her education from a remote location and then heading off to Dartmouth for college. Both wife and daughter are happy to finally be without that round the clock protection from the Secret Service. The wife refused additional care and support from the Secret Service. And there is no Secret Service for the former president's daughter after 16. So once they leave the White House, if they're 16, there's no Secret Service. I think that's what that is.
And this all might sound crazy. Like, why would you refuse protection? But remember, he was in office for less than a full term. Right. He don't even feel like he was ever really president. Mm-hmm. So he's going to get back to being a man of the land. And his wife's going to get back to being an archaeologist. Yep. And his daughter's going to college. This was a chapter they just want to close.
Yeah, regular life. They want their regular lives back. Mm-hmm. Sorry about that snap pop. Anyway, the Secret Service agent that is designated to the former president is David Stahl, I think his name is. And he keeps up with the daughter. So he's always asking about her, checking in. Because, you know, the time he was with them at the house, he kind of prepped her. Now, let's jump into part 2. 2 years later, we find Keating is canoeing with his Secret Service agent, David, or Agent Stahl, I call him. Is it Stahl? Agent Stahl.
I didn't learn anyone's names. Okay. I basically know Keating.
That's enough. His chief of staff, Madeline, is going away. And she tells him that she's leaving. And she reminds him that he needs to be making money by writing his autobiography. 4 publishing companies have expressed interest. And he needs to agree to write. He tells her, yeah, I'll get to it. And she then tells him, the longer you're out of office, the less people care. Essentially, right? Fact. No one cares. Okay, so you need to write quick while the writing is hot. So she tells him that he barely makes enough money to support his family, let alone the foundation that he wants to start to help veterans. So pull it together. Moments later, his daughter comes down the stairs telling him she's ready to head out with Tim, her boyfriend. She is 19. She's wearing her Dartmouth sweatshirt. And she and Tim are going on a hike to Mount Rawlings. And they're going to spend the night in a hut owned by Dartmouth Outing Club. And then they'll be back tomorrow. So just a quick little getaway with the boyfriend, okay? Meanwhile, near the American-Canadian border, 2 men are brutally carjacked of a black Ford pickup truck. Okay? The men who carjack are using a drone, and they have just finished watching the president. Now, that doesn't even seem right, does it? The former president. Mm-mm. But one of the men are concerned, like, wouldn't somebody be tracking that drone? He's like, no problem. Nah, not at all. They don't do that. And the other man, he just assures him it's just not happening. He asks about the girl and is told they don't have Secret Service for the girl.
And they're like, what? This sounds too easy. Like, are we walking into a trap?
Exactly. And they're like, they could be asked. There could be Secret Service if there's special circumstances, but the girl doesn't want it. She is a brave and foolish girl. Brave and foolish. So Mel and Tim are taking a hike up the mountain. They're being all coupley.
Who them people? Oh, them the Keating. That's the Keating. That's the president's daughter.
Yes, the president's daughter. Yes. And they head up and they jump in the lake. Ooh, they done stripped themselves and they doing some skinny dipping. And
Tim is like, wow, I come from a blue collar family, but I just happen to go to Dartmouth and now I just happen to be dating the president's daughter. And you know what? She's kind of awesome. And I'm in this awesome relationship with an awesome girl and I'm young and I'm awesome.
Yeah, pretty Pretty much.
And those are mostly all of his thoughts.
All of them. And they're thinking like at least Mel is, that's the president's daughter. She's thinking there's like no one around for miles. Finally, I have some privacy and some peace to myself. And then she hears voices. And for the first time in her life, she is afraid. Sometime after Mel leaves, Keating receives a call from the Deputy National Security Advisor for the National Security Council and tells Keating that her call is unofficial, but she wanted to let him know what she learned this morning. She was sitting in for the director at today's threat assessment, and she heard that terrorists are keying up to strike. And he, former President Keating, is the target. And she called to let him know and his Secret Service know. And she also throws in that the campaign from President Barnes sickened her. And so she couldn't allow herself to sit on the information that she heard. She had to tell him immediately. And she tells him to be safe before she hangs up. And when he's off the phone, he alerts Agent Stahl. Okay. So here's where we get quick and fast. State police are sent to the wife who's at her site to get her someplace safe. Keating and Agent Stahl say he says he's going to go get Mel himself. And Agent Stahl says, hey, you can't do that. We got to put you in a proper place first. And then we'll send somebody else to get your daughter. Against his better wishes, he goes into hiding and other agents go for his daughter. Let's get back to Mel. Mel tells Tim to make a run for it, but he doesn't really listen. He's not processing what's happening here. But Mel's antennas are tweaked. The men tell her and Tim to get out of the water, and they show them a pistol for emphasis. She asks the men why they're doing this. Her dad is no longer president. And they tell her, she's like, you looking for the wrong person? They're like, no, ma'am, you don't know what we looking for. So mind your business. They head her down the trail. And when they arrive at the vehicle, Mel pleads with the men to let Tim go. They ask if they leave him behind. Will he stay where he is and not run anywhere? And he's like, yeah, I promise. And they shoot him. A bag is placed on Mel's head and her arms are taped and she is thrown into a vehicle. And they barrel away, almost hitting another vehicle. So the people in that vehicle get out like, yeah, what? Why you do that? They like Big Mad. You know, you would be too. Anyway, they get out and they look and see if there was any damage or anything. But I think they're almost at the spot they wanted to be at anyway. But they look and they see and they left garbage. What kind of people? And they look a little longer and they realize it's a dead body. And they call the police. So now Mel is in the vehicle. And she remembers some training from Agent Stahl. And one of those is to pay attention. Pay attention to the movements of the car. Pay attention to just everything. Try to pick up as much as possible. She realizes that she's being transported to some place remote by the way that the vehicle is moving, and decides she's gonna give them a run for her money. And she is no typical college girl, so they better watch out. Okay. And when they arrive
at Alexis's face if you watch it on YouTube when she said that. That was cute.
When they arrive at the destination, they remove the bag and a duct tape and place her in a small room with a small bed, table, chair, bolted to the floor, and a chemical toilet. I don't know what that is. Do you?
No, I don't.
Okay. We don't care. She yells at them for killing Tim. She's really upset. She has a moment where she just cries. She's like, I'm going to have this one cry and then I'm going to pull myself together and try to fight for myself. And they tell her that she's going to stay there until her father responds to the demands. Mel decides that if she is to get free, it's up to her. And she's going to stand up to those two men. And she tells them that she's afraid of guns and asks that they not bring the guns into the room. And they agree. And when they come into the room again, she tried to jump him. And they like, you silly girl.
So she said that knowing that she's been raised with guns her entire life. And so she's like, now they will think I'm afraid of guns. Not that they didn't agree to not bring guns.
Right,
they
right.
was like,
that's right.
You know what? You can have your little requests. You're only here for a purpose. We're always going to have our guns. And she's like, got them. Now they don't know that I know how to use guns. And so she hops on one of their backs, takes his gun, and she's shooting at them, and nothing's coming out. And they just laughing. Ha, 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 ha. But first she throw a little pee in their eye.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that happened. Okay. All right. They said, man, we did our research on you. We
know everything about you. So we know you're not afraid of
all the things.
That was a bad plan.
Mm-hmm.
Your plan was bad.
Try again. So Agent Starr.
And then they were like, your punishment is to eat food off the floor like so many of the people that you look down on. And so they throw her food on the floor and she'd be like, gow, 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 I'm hungry. Shoot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Knocking the roaches off of it.
So listen. Okay, we'll get to that. Maybe we'll get to that. We'll see. Okay. Keating tries to reach President. Oh, okay. So Agent Starr tells Keating that his wife is safe, but it's too late. His daughter has been kidnapped. Of course, they all devastated. They blame themselves. Agent Starr, Keating, and his wife. They all are like, how could this have happened under our watch? We could have, should have, did all of that. Keating tries to reach President Barnes, but they tell her she's unavailable. He reaches out. He then gets his own connection. So he's like, I got to get to Washington. And he grabs his go bag and his military equipment. And he is heading to Washington. And now we know that he is a father who is willing to go anywhere and kill anyone to get his daughter back. President Barnes, so the day she finds out, her husband cancels her afternoon appointments.
He's her chief of staff now.
Chief of staff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, right, because she's the president. Yes.
Yeah.
And her husband got the briefing 2 hours earlier. She had been taking photos and doing photo apps and being praised and whatnot. And he gives her the news that Mel has been kidnapped. Keating's daughter has been kidnapped. And shocked, President Barnes asks, who's on it? Who's taking care of this? She's like, where's the Secret Service? How could this happen? They're like, well, she don't have Secret Service. They're like, well, what about this? And what about that? It's like, no. Okay.
Yeah, Barnes really cares because she can't have children of her own. And she felt an emotional attachment to Mel just because she didn't want her dad to have the job of president. Just because Barnes wanted the president's job doesn't mean she's heartless. She really feels for the family, for the Keating family.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, okay, so we're getting close on parts I'm going to fumble on. So her husband tells her that she has to take the lead and show the country that she is on top of things.
He's always thinking of the next move. Mm-hmm. He is heartless.
Yeah, for sure. She tells him that she wants to talk to Keating. He's like, that's not possible. Keating is in a plane heading for DC. And he also tells her that when you find out what the demands are, you're going to have to say no.
Yeah, you're going to have to flex your power. We don't bend to terrorists.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if someone's like, how can you be cold? If someone's like, how can you jeopardize the life of Mel Keating? Just remind them that it was her father who allowed her to be on her own. It was her father who didn't make arrangements for her to have some sort of protection. That is not your responsibility as president of the United States.
Hey, that's what happened. That's what he said. Okay, so now this is the part. Okay, so after that happens, eventually former President Keating arrives at the White House, right? And so when he arrives at the White House, he's getting a meeting with President Barnes, and her husband is in the room, and Keating's wife is in the room, and they're having this discussion. They're talking about like next steps But through this conversation, I am not hearing like anything like, okay, we're going to get somebody right on that, or we're going to help you. I'm not hearing that. But when they leave this meeting, they're leaving with a sense of satisfaction that something is in progress. Although I didn't hear any. What about you,
This
Kari?
is when they run back the cat?
Well, no, when they're in the office with the president and they're sitting talking about.
It's before or after the demands are released?
Before.
Oh,
Yeah, she didn't really say anything.
But they don't know where to start. They don't know who's taking the girl. They really have no information at this point.
No information at this point. But they're doing what they can to find out. But they do have the information, of course, about the kidnapping, what was left behind, and they're doing their research based on that. So
and
after that,
it's at this point, but the former president Keating reminds the current president, Madam Barnes, I know that you had information that I was being tracked before this happened. You chose not to warn me. And that's enough said. It's like, you owe me.
Yeah. So they finally get the demands, right? And let me tell you what the demands are.
On CNN, the network of the nation, which is often the first stop for news after it leaves the White House. I thought, is this a commercial?
A CNN commercial? It did seem a little commercially. That was just really interesting how it was played out. Okay. So it's on CNN, right? Okay. It's on the big show, on the big network. And he gives his demands. And is this I think it's in the same room. I think it's in the same, or it's a separate room. They're in a separate room. They're not with
but they're all together. The current president, her chief of staff, who's her husband, and the former president and his wife.
Yeah.
Who are eager to see their child again.
Yeah. Okay. So it's on the TV, and he says they show a picture of the daughter alive and well with today's.
They show live video of her alive and well. Yeah.
With today's newspaper. She's holding today's newspaper so they know she is alive and well today. So, the thing where, how do I know she's still alive? Well, that answers it.
And they but this Streetwise is from today.
Okay. So he tells him, you have until noon tomorrow to fulfill the following demands. And he says, then if you do it, I'm going to release Mel Keating safe and unharmed if the conditions are met. 1, you need to release 3 fellow warriors who are currently being held in barbaric and inhumane conditions. Then he says these 3 men were released from Florence and flown to an abandoned airstrip in Libya. Let's see.
That's what he wants, yeah.
And then 2, a ransom in the amount of $100 million in Bitcoin to be paid within 36 hours, the next 36 hours. Those are the 2 demands, right? Or was there one more? 3, a complete and full pardon from President Pamela Barnes for any and all crimes I may or may not have committed against Americans in the United States or abroad. And then the video goes off. So those are the demands. So they leave the room with the president. That's the president. Of course, they're emotionally distraught, but they're leaving the room with the president and her husband, thinking things are going to be in progress. Now, I don't know why, but they're thinking things are going to be in progress. We didn't know who took her.
Now we know. We didn't know what you wanted. Now we know. We can gather. You actually have made a mistake. Now we can walk back the cat. I don't know if that's the phrase. and pick up clues based on the information you've put in our lap. And the wife is like, "You fools! You fools!" And that's Mrs. Keating. And then Barnes, the chief of staff, is like, "Why are women always talking?" This is what he's thinking in his head. And he's like, excuse me, calling me a fool. And she's like, don't you see? They're not just after what they can get from my husband. They want to punish my husband. Yeah. They want to make him believe he can't trust the people in this very room. And you know what? I don't know if he can. Can he? Are you going to do all you can for my daughter? And what does the president say, Madam President? I don't remember. I think she goes, somebody calling me in the other room.
Literally. She got to,
she goes, huh? Here I come. You know, I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
My nightly whiskey is ready. I'll be right back.
That night she had 2 glasses of whiskey, just to be sure. Okay, that happened. And ain't nothing wrong with that, okay, Kari? Okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No problem, Alexis.
Okay, so after this happens...
but let's talk later offline.
After that happens, we're next taken back to the... I think we're taken... so now there's this nationwide manhunt. They're trying to check all the boxes, ring all the bells. And there is a community that's right next to... the area where she was hiking and potentially closer to where she's being kidnapped. All right.
A small town in New England.
Yeah.
Where people can trace their ancestors all the way back to colonizers. Yeah. No, really. They mentioned
True. So in this area.
And they all got the same last name, if you know what I mean.
Anyway.
So that's the idea the writer wants you to get. Oh, and they watch Fox News and they're red. This is how these people are described in the book. Chubby red Fox News watchers who can trace their ancestors back to colonizers. They do not get their news from the nation's source, CNN.
Yeah, that was in there. Okay, so anyway, this there's a woman that works for this police force. She used to work in a big city and now she's in this small town, and she's like, "Ooh, I think I can do some investigation around this." And they're like, "No, mind your business." But
can I sum up the story right quick? Just her whole life.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so she's from the big city and she comes in and she's like, "I want to do real police work." And everybody's like, "Sit down, little lady." And they send her to this old lady house who's complaining about theft. Mm-hmm. And then she says, "Okay, Mrs. Old Lady, what did they steal from you?" And the old lady is like, "My newspaper. Some men pulled up in a black truck and stole my paper." And then the big town police that's now in a small town goes, "Oh." And then she calls her boss and the boss goes, "Shut up." And so she starts investigating on her own. And bada bing, bada boom, the terrorist slit her throat. But not before she's able to tell someone that she has found the house where the former president's daughter is being kept.
Yeah.
Pew, pew.
Thank you for that fast forward. Yeah, she did. That's what she had did. Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little irritated because at this point I was kind of invested in her. And I mean, flash in the pan. She was dead before I knew she was alive.
Yeah. Yeah. So she is like literally scoping out the house at this point where she knows Keating is. She has seen the men on TV in front of this house. She knows it's happening. And while she sees this, she steps aside and she decides to make a call. And she realizes she cannot call her current bosses because they are like clueless. So she calls.
They watch Fox News and they're red.
It's calling somebody back in her old life who has connections. And she makes that call. And they start a process towards getting to where she is. So once that's done, once they've killed her, that process is underway. And they come around to the place to look for Mel. But before that, they come around to the place to look for Mel. And Mel is not there. Instead, they find an empty place not an empty place, a place with like teenagers, college kids doing stuff. And they have them strategically placed in a house so that it looks like Mel is still in the house.
Yeah, they called 3 random boys and was like, you want a free Airbnb stay, but you got to come right now and not ask questions. And
they gave them like $5,000.
Children were like, yay, here we come.
And they showed up. So when the police arrived to, they're looking for mail, they held these folks up like, what's going on in here? And they was like, no, they just gave us some money to come in this place. But what?
Yeah, and they said we get more money after a while or something. So, yay. So it all checked out.
So if they're calling this an Airbnb, why is that table and chair nailed to the floor?
One of the boys is so inebriated that he goes down to where Mel was kept hostage and is like, "Ooh, a bed," and lays down.
And that
it makes no sense.
Yeah, so he does that.
He probably drink 1 whiskey a night.
No,
like Madam
He's
President.
A binge drinker. Okay, he's not a 1 whiskey a night kind of person.
You don't know his life. Okay.
Listen, that's not it. Why is there a desk and chair chained and a bed changed to the floor? And why is there a chemical
Why aren't you
toilet?
asking more questions, sir? And you're not without a house. You left wherever you was living to stay in this luxurious Airbnb with the prison in the basement.
What a prison in the basement?
Ask questions.
Something's going on with that
toilet. We don't even know what that is.
What is that and why is that happening? Okay, nonetheless, they escape her. She gets out. So during this time, the 12 hours passes. And
they escape her.
They remove her from the house.
Yeah, she don't get out. They change locations, having slit the throat of the officer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're like, we got to go. The block is hot. Let's go and get the president's daughter.
That's the thing. And so, meanwhile, while that's happening, they prepare to go back because the time has now elapsed. And now they want to show up the former president, and set an example for him. And what they do.
And this is when the book gets very Lisa Jewell.
They set up a stage and present their daughter to execute her on TV. We're back on CNN, right?
Of course. Yeah. That's America's source for accurate news.
It's really wild. Okay, yeah. Anyway, but yes, so they present her forward to be executed, and they film it. And the parents, of course, are watching it because he's like, you didn't listen to me. You didn't honor my demands. And so your daughter is going to die for this. And they execute her on TV.
Yeah, did y'all hear that? So the president has done some research and he's like, did anyone try to move money? Nope. Did anyone even look into freeing the 3 terrorists in Colorado? Nope. He's like, my daughter, her life is in jeopardy. Then, as quick as can be, on the TV screen is a man with a knife above their daughter's head, and at the last minute the daughter looks up and goes, "Mommy, don't look." And so the president grabs his wife and closes her eyes, but he can't not look, so he keeps looking, and he says he sees that Dartmouth sweatshirt covered in blood, and next to the sweatshirt is something he can't describe. It's an oval with her frizzy hair. It's his daughter's head, you guys.
That's gross.
And he goes into a dark place from which he will never return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so that happened. So during the search, though, of the house, they see that a ring has been left behind. And this is a tip that Mel had learned from Agent Stahl, to leave something valuable behind, that something valuable that people will recognize and know. And it is her ring. And so when they get to the location that she was formerly held, where the boys were in the Airbnb, they identify that ring and they take it back to the mom. And of course, the mom can see it immediately that it's the ring that she had given her. And of course, she's devastated. So this is all compounding, but it enrages, of course, the father, because he's like, I'm gonna get the people who got my daughter.
So now we're reading Taken, the novelization of Taken. If the girl was not following you too, she was actually dead. So what are you taking? Lives? This is a revenge book now?
This is now a revenge book. It's a revenge book now. Absolutely.
Can we talk about it? Are you done?
Almost. Just a little bit more.
You're doing a great job, by the way.
Okay. So just a little bit more. All right.
With what you were given.
She's taken. She's dead now.
No, she's dead.
We have just seen her executed on live TV. Everybody knows he's getting condolences calls from people from in high places. His wife has
basically left him for her job. Yeah. She can't stand. They're just covered in grief. Yeah, it's too much.
They're grieving in big ways, and the father Keating is trying to figure out how now to get his revenge, and he's like pulling the team together. Meanwhile, there is somebody desperately trying to get his attention. Is that right? His attention? Agent Stahl's attention? They're trying to get to Keating to reveal some information. Did I go too far?
I don't know about that. That must be in part 3.
Is it? Wait a minute.
Information?
Okay, wait a minute.
Alexis is giving away the book.
I don't want to get too far.
For real, the part 2 ends with the execution and the dad going, I'm going to get revenge on these so-and-sos. And then the head of security is I'm going with you, boss.
Sorry. Yep, that's it. But all the other stuff is there. All the other stuff is there. So we're going to end it right here. Let's take a quick break.
Okay, let's do it.
And we're back. So, Kari, that's the end of part 1 and 2 without revealing a whole, final thought. Just give a medium thought. What do you think of the first 2 parts?
So what Alexis is asking me to do is to not talk about how I feel about the book yet.
Yes.
Because that's what we do after we read it. But I'm not going to listen. Listen, I'm going to give you my verdict about the first half of this book.
Just the first half.
First of all, that girl ain't dead. I don't know what they've done to make it seem like they executed her, but I just cannot imagine that the president's daughter in a book called The President's Daughter is dead halfway through the book.
But why
I cannot imagine.
Why not? Because one, we see is clearly about revenge. It's not about the other stuff. He's on a revenge
without hope is sad. It reminds me of the Count of Monte Cristo.
Revenge. Who has hope then? They just want to pay back.
I don't want to read about a payback book. Is this a book about killing people because they killed your daughter?
Yes.
Because that is not something I want to get into.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. So I think that, a revenge story without hope, without this girl still being alive and without there being a chance to rescue her, becomes a very sad story, and sad in a way where you feel sorry for everyone involved in creating it because they're small. You know what I mean? Like it's that pitying type of sad. It's a little pathos, and I hope that's not what this is. And James Patterson and Bill Clinton are very educated men. I imagine the daughter is still alive, or there's another plot. Something is going to be revealed at the top of this third part that is going to give the reader some sort of hope again. Because if the president is just going to travel through the world taking lives, I'm really disturbed by the fact that a former president co-wrote this book. That's like really deep on a lot of levels that I don't even want to think about. So far my verdict is there are good parts in this book. One is that the motivation of the quote unquote bad guys is very good. They are all motivated by the deaths of family members at the hands of the U.S. government in some way, in a way that is very believable. These men, to me, are not overly monstrous. They're not necessarily depicted as something so foreign that we can't understand their beliefs or their motivations. They're just pure evil, born evil. It's not presented that way. These men are motivated. Their why seems to be very clear. Even the chief terrorist, who is akin in character to Osama bin Laden, is given a family's death, the death of his wife and children, as a motivation. So it's not like he's just part of the axis of evil. Get over it. That's why he's evil. We're given something, and we can relate to the fact that he had his family taken, and so now he maybe we can't relate, but we at least understand why he's acting in the way he's acting. Other good things. I'm digging at the bottom of the barrel.
Don't do that.
I listened to this book on Audible, and if you listen to it, then the gentleman who played Tony Goldwyn, I think, who played Fitz on Scandal, he narrates the president, and he does a great job.
Is that him?
He doesn't do his voice. He like makes it Southern. And then he also does an Englishman. He's got a couple accents in his pocket that I thought were good. Also Dion Graham, who we like for narrating Colson Whitehead's books. Not the last one, but Harlem Shuffle. Yeah. I both read that book physically and listened to the audio, and he narrated it, and I just love his voice. His narration is so colorful, so layered, and just so pristine. I just love Dion Graham as a narrator. And he reads for the Navy SEAL. So that's great. Also, the women in this book are intelligent and the men are intelligent. So even though the president, Madam President, is being played by her husband, she's no dummy. Her husband's just cunning. The daughter is trying in a way that I could see an older teen try to outsmart these terrorists, who we understand to be very educated men, as in real life. A lot of terrorists are. They're not, fools. So I thought that was good. And also the archaeologist, who is the former first lady. She is a very intelligent woman, very balanced in that way. Now what's bad? This is a very partisan book where we have to hear about CNN. And this book just came out last year. Because there was a time when CNN was like non-partisan, as far as I know.
It came out in 21.
Oh, 21. Okay, so 2 years ago. This book talks about CNN like it is the voice of this nation, and that as soon as they get information in the White House, they say, but does CNN know? Because we got to tell CNN. And then for the ignorant police officer to be the one that watches Fox News, those are details that just shows a partisan alliance that I didn't need in the story. Also, if a Black character enters for any reason, they are described as Black. I don't read books like that no more. So, would I recommend it? Look, ain't nobody asked me, but already I'm going to tell you. Not if you don't read them books. I'm only reading this for Alexis, and because I'm halfway into it now, and I think the daughter has to be alive, so I got to see what happened. But books where it's like, Lisa enters, her face dripped in blood, where you can barely see the brown skin of the Black woman underneath the blood. Like, is her race now important to her being covered in blood? We want to know why she's covered in blood. Are you telling me she's Black for a reason? Nope.
No. And
the president walks, sees a Latino man, and I think he gonna go, hola hermano, ¿cómo estás? No, he goes, hey, Frankie, how's your kids? And then Frankie, the Latino man, is like, oh, wow, Mr. President, you remember I have children. Listen, I don't do that no more. I'm too grown to play with people who play with me. So this book does that. It's going to play with you. It's going to play with you. Also, it's just real icky to take real life events for a trivial matter, such as a fictional novel that no one asked for, and be like, oh, remember? So they're in the writer's room brainstorming. They like, remember that time I bombed the Chinese embassy? Put that in the book. Yo. Wow. So that's that. What about you, Alexa? I mean, but so far, I will say my favorite scene, it's weird to say that, but the execution was just so unexpected. and so brutal and clean in the way it was described. It wasn't, you weren't on the hook as a reader. It wanted you in the water. It wanted you to know what was happening, and it described it clearly. And in that way, I mean, it was very Lisa Jewell in that it took out a main character, which makes you think that anything is possible in the story. It won't be predictable. But at the same time, I just hope it's not just a revenge book, because who in the world want to read a revenge book that is also describing people by their race? So, Alexis, what do you think so far of The President's Daughter by Bill Clinton and John Grisham?
So, I was following
John Grisham.
There you go again with the John Grisham.
So, obviously, I thought I did not know James Patterson existed. That was totally Freudian. Okay, so go ahead, girl.
Okay. James Patterson and Bill Clinton wrote this book that we're covering today as a reminder. Okay. And so I appreciate a lot of the points that you made about the book, but the standout for me is the idea that he wrote this book based on something that actually happened. When I learned that, I was completely offended. Like, why even produce this book? Why talk about these things? You know how many people were affected by that? And what effect does that have on them? Whereas you write this book for fiction purposes.
And their children are alive. How do their children feel about a former U.S. president taking? Just why? I don't even have to finish that sentence. No. It ain't good. It's not a good look.
It's not.
It's not a good look.
It's not. You know what?
I don't care if it never happened. There are certain things that you cannot do in life because you were a former president of the United States.
Okay, so what would you have him write about?
Anything else.
So nothing presidential. A romance novel, perhaps.
Listen, you have a living daughter. What are you doing, Bill? What are you doing? What's that place in Harlem we like? That restaurant?
Oh, Red Rooster.
Listen, Bill, I don't know if you still got that office in Harlem, but you need to go to Red Rooster and take a break. Relax. Sometimes they have a violinist in the basement. If you ain't got nothing else to do, that is a great place to waste time. Go to Target across the street. It's like a 3-layer Target. Go ahead and get you a face mask, a bottle of wine, take that home. That's a good evening. Mm-hmm. I'm just throwing ideas because obviously you need some. I think but this is irresponsible. But it wasn't
his idea. It was James Patterson's idea.
This is irresponsible.
And he fed it. So I don't like that. I don't like that at all, because it just makes me feel like, why did you do it? But your analysis was quite good. So I'm going to leave it at that.
All right. Well, I can't wait to dive into part 2.
Can you?
The President's Daughter.
Can you?
By Bill Clinton and not John Grisham. Thank you all for listening to Lit Society. We will return to you next Thursday. Lit Society is brought to you by Alexis Honoria and Kari Herrera. Support the cause by leaving a 5-star review for us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, along with a comment about why you love our show. We love you too. Be sure to visit litsocietypod.com to keep up with our reading list, which is coming out today or tomorrow, today-ish, and to sign up for our free email newsletter. And until next time, you guys,
read something.